The Vietnam War. We've all heard the headlines: fierce battles, devastating loss, and a divided nation. But what if I told you the darkest secrets of this war have been hidden from us all along? What if the real story is far more shocking, far more haunting than we've ever been told? Prepare to uncover the truths that history has left behind, because what you're about to hear might just change everything you thought you knew. We all know the staggering number of lives lost in Vietnam, 58,000 American soldiers. But the real cost? It wasn't just the body count. Imagine coming home from war, physically alive but emotionally shattered. What if I told you that many of these soldiers were sent home only to face an invisible enemy? PTSD. The nightmarish flashbacks, the panic attacks, the feeling of being trapped in a war that never ended. And it gets worse. Thousands of soldiers were exposed to Agent Orange, a chemical that ravaged their bodies, causing cancers, birth defects, and diseases that continue to haunt them to this day. These soldiers didn't just fight a war, they fought for their lives long after they returned. But the government turned its back. No one cared. Now think about this. The true victims of war aren't just the soldiers. What about the millions of civilians in Vietnam? They didn't pick a side, yet they paid the highest price. Over 2 million Vietnamese civilians lost their lives, but that's just the beginning. Imagine your entire village being wiped off the map in a matter of minutes. Homes burned to the ground, families torn apart, women, children, the elderly, all victims of a war they had no choice in. And even after the fighting stopped, the legacy of destruction never ended. The land itself was poisoned by Agent Orange, turning once fertile soil into a toxic wasteland. This wasn't just about battlefields. It was about the destruction of entire lives. The civilian toll is a horror we rarely speak about. Want to know the real betrayal? The US government didn't just send soldiers to fight an unwinnable war. They lied to the entire nation. Imagine the horror of realizing that while your loved ones were being sent into battle, your leaders knew the war was a lost cause. The Pentagon Papers revealed that officials knew the truth, that the war was unwinnable. Yet they continued to deceive the American public, keeping the truth hidden. They fed the nation a steady diet of propaganda while sending thousands of young men to die for a cause that was based on lies. And it wasn't just lies. The US secretly bombed Cambodia and Laos, expanding the war beyond what anyone ever knew. These weren't just mistakes. These were betrayals that destroyed lives and trust. The Vietnam War may have officially ended in 1975, but its scars are still here. The war didn't just devastate Vietnam, it changed the entire world. The land remains poisoned. The people continue to suffer from diseases caused by Agent Orange, even decades later. But here's the most heartbreaking truth. When American veterans came home, they were rejected. Not only did they fight a war they didn't understand, but when they returned, the country they fought for turned its back on them. Instead of being celebrated, they were met with hostility. The Vietnam War Memorial stands as a tribute, but it's not just for the fallen. It's a reminder of how many were forgotten. The scars of this war aren't just visible on the land, they're etched into the hearts of everyone who lived through it. And the worst part? The pain never truly ended. What if I told you that the real cost of war wasn't just in lives lost, but in how we see each other? In Vietnam, both sides dehumanized one another. The US saw the Vietnamese as faceless enemies, and vice versa. We've all heard the term the enemy, but what does it really mean? It means stripping away someone's humanity. It means justifying atrocities. It means war becomes not about people, but about ideologies. But here's the truth. On both sides, those enemies were mothers, fathers, children, all caught in a web of political decisions they had no part in. When you dehumanize someone, it's easier to kill them, easier to destroy them. And this mindset didn't just destroy lives in Vietnam, it destroyed souls on both sides of the war. The Vietnam War isn't just history, it's a haunting reminder of the true cost of war. The soldiers we forgot, the civilians we ignored, the government lies we never confronted, and the lives lost to a conflict that still defines us today. These aren't just stories from the past. These are living truths that we need to face, because if we don't, we risk repeating the same mistakes. The Vietnam War may have ended, but the lessons are still with us, and it's time we learn them. If this video opened your eyes to the untold stories of the Vietnam War, subscribe and join us as we uncover the hidden chapters of history. Share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth, because history isn't just about the past. It's about what we choose to remember and what we choose to never forget.